Have you ever felt like you can't step into leadership because you're still figuring things out? Here's the truth: leadership isn't about having it all together, it's about growing in real time and letting others see the process. Growth in public isn't a liability, it's leadership in motion. When we give ourselves permission to lead while learning, we create a space for connection, trust, and courage. Today, we're diving into the discussion leading while learning. So let's go ahead and get into it. Kari, let me ask you this. What did you discover about yourself when you gave yourself permission to grow publicly as a leader?
That's a good question. I think a part of it is we are all starting from somewhere. And some of us are starting fresh and starting more recently than others. And so for me, I started along my career path a long time ago. But I think throughout all of that, I recognize that leadership isn't about being fully formed. It is about showing up and still becoming, right? And so I've had moments where I've shared unfinished ideas and was afraid of the critique and afraid of the feedback that I might get because it wasn't a fully baked idea. And reluctantly, what I decided to do was go ahead and share it anyway. And to my surprise, a lot of times that offered and fostered an environment of collaboration and co-creation, and it allowed people to say, "Hey, Kari, I like that. What about if we did this, this, and that on top of it? Or what if
Yeah,
we thought about doing this?" And so what happened was it allowed for us both to collaborate, but allow the ideas to be more enhanced and just really just kind of morphed into something totally different. And
yeah,
so when we do that and we say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to be afraid of the critique. I'm not going to be afraid of what people may say, even though my idea may not be fully formed," that's all right. That's okay. Because what happens is when we lead visibly through our learning and saying, "Hey, I'm learning from you, you're learning from me," we model courage and not
yeah.
perfection. And it's not about perfection. It's about how we can continue to grow, learn together, and piggyback off of ideas that we're sharing. So that was something that I learned early on in my career, not that I don't have to be perfect, but I have to be willing to allow for collaboration and co-creation.
Yeah, I think giving yourself permission to grow publicly is one of the most powerful human acts of leadership.
Mhm.
Too often we associate leadership with certainty and having all the answers. But the truth is, real leaders evolve out loud.
That's
They
right.
show up being authentic, even when their thoughts are still forming and their confidence is still catching up. I think
That's
one
right.
of the things that I learned is admitting that I don't know yet doesn't diminish your credibility, but it enhances your relatability. And
Sure.
when I've done this, I've always expected a little bit of judgment. But what I received instead was collaboration.
Yep.
People leaned in,
Yep.
offered insight, and saw themselves in the process. So it
Mhm.
wasn't a display of weakness, but it was an invitation to build something stronger
That's right.
together. And I think leadership at its core is not about being the most polished person in the room. It's
Mhm.
about being courageous enough to be seen in motion, to grow
Sure.
visibly, vulnerably, and generously. And
Yep.
when we lead this way, we give ourselves permission to do the same. We stop pretending and we start progressing. So, yes, give yourself permission to grow publicly, not because it's easy, but because it's honest. And in today's world, that kind of leadership is more powerful and more impactful and more necessary than ever. So, Kari, what other thoughts do you have on this topic?
Yeah, as the second thing that I would mention when you think about leading while learning is let humility and curiosity build your credibility.
Yeah,
So you may say, "Kari, what you mean by that?" So I learned that credibility, like you said, Ken, it doesn't mean that you have all the answers, right? It means from asking the right questions and listening deeply. And to give you an example, I had a conversation just yesterday, as a matter of fact, with our COO of the company. And he reached out to me and wanted to get my take and my perspective on a specific situation that he was involved in. And so I listened to what he had to say. I asked a couple questions, And he said, Khary, well, what do you think? What do you think we should do? And so I provided him with my insight and my ideas and my thoughts and perspective on what we should do. And he said, really? I think that's a great idea. I love it. And so I was surprised that he would even reach out to me and get my thoughts on it. And what I realized was that his honesty and his humility opened the door for me to walk through and allow for that collaboration like we just talked about. And there's two things that really stood out to me. One is that curiosity says, "Hey, I'm still learning."
Yeah.
And humility says, I'm learning from you. And when you
Yeah.
look those things and you put those things together, it really allows people to lean in and not just look up. And so that really gave me a vote of confidence
Yeah.
on my ability to have this exchange with him and foster my ideas from an authentic space. And he really took it in and was like, hey, I like where you're coming from. I hadn't thought of that. Let's do it. And so that made me feel like he understood where I was going, but my advice was creditable and he enjoyed what I had to say. So that really made me feel like, hey, one, he's letting his humility and curiosity build some credibility in my eyes. And then conversely, it established my influence and power in his eyes. So I thought it was a win-win, and I appreciate him allowing me to provide some context and my perspective.
Yeah, I agree. That curiosity signals that you're open to growth,
Yeah.
and humility communicates that you value others' perspectives. And when you
Mhm.
lead with both, you don't just deliver ideas, you co-create them, like you said.
That's right.
So that's when people stop seeing you as a figurehead and start trusting you as a collaborator.
Mhm.
One of the other things I thought about was in leadership, the goal isn't to be the smartest person in the room. It's
Nope.
to be the most teachable. And that
Mm.
kind of credibility lasts because it's rooted in respect, not
Mhm.
ego. I think that when you let humility and curiosity lead the way, credibility will follow naturally.
Mhm. I
So,
agree.
any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would just ask everyone to think about this week as you're thinking about where I can improve, how I can develop my skills. I'm going to ask everybody to think about one thing, just one thing that you're still learning about. And whether it's a skill, a mindset, a leadership habit, I want you to think about it. And I'm big proponent of putting it out in the universe, writing it down, posting it, or putting somewhere that you can see it on a daily basis to say, hey, I'm working on this. And whether you want to post it online or speak about it or journal it, I think it's great for you to share that publicly with others and say, hey, listen, I'm helping and I'm hoping that you will hold me accountable because this is something that I'm working on,
Yeah,
something that I'm leaning in on. And I think when you do that, it provides some awareness
yeah,
and it's also not a weakness. It allows for witnesses that happen and say, hey, listen, Khary, I know that you said you're working on this. Kenneth, I know you said you're working on this. And I appreciate you. I applaud your efforts and I wish you luck and I'll support you in what I can do. So I think by doing that, not only are you putting it out there, you also create uh, a support system for you to be
very true.
successful in that endeavor. So
Very true.
that's what I would ask and challenge everybody to think about this week. And then I would lastly like to mention to and remind everyone to lead with love, laugh with grace, and lift someone up today. Appreciate y'all.
If this hit home for you, hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and drop your learning journey in the comments because we would love to hear about it. And remember, leadership isn't about having it all figured out, it's about showing up and inviting others to do the same. Thanks for watching. And until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and stay courageous. Coming up in our next video, we'll discuss this a little bit further as we dive into saying yes to leadership before you feel ready. Ciao for now.